First of all, is Katie not rocking that red dress or what? She is. She looks great. So this is the story of how my library has been transforming itself from the inside out with an intentional, renewed interest in the customer experience. But it's also a little of my story as well. Long before I was a library director, I was a reader, and here I am at about the age I learned how to read. And while I'm a very proud Columbia native, I did spend some of my formative years in the St. Louis County Library System, and this was my childhood library, the Lewis and Clark branch. I unfortunately don't have very fond memories of the librarians there, so I would walk in the door and I would scan the floor, and what I was looking for were these magical reflected lights from those beautiful stained glass windows. They would shine these yellow and red patches on the floor, and that's where I would go to find my first book I was going to read for that week. And maybe that was really my first indication or thinking that it was really the experience that mattered more than anything, because I don't remember all the books I read in that library, but I certainly remember the experience of going there. Most of you in this room, I would hope, have some great experiences from your library, but if you don't, the first thing you probably think of when you think of the library is books. And that's fine. I love books, shocker. But we're not in the business of books. We never have been in the business of books. In fact, Andrew Carnegie, when he started the concept of the American Public Library, he did so based on his childhood in Scotland, where he was from a very poor family. And there was a rich benefactor in his town who opened his personal library to the working boys of the community so that they could come in and make their lives better. And that's why Andrew Carnegie invested so much in public libraries, because he wanted people who were industrious to have that same opportunity. And when he started building public libraries in the United States, he inscribed this over the door. And I like to point out that it doesn't say, "Let there be books." So here we are in 2014, and information is free and books are cheap. And it seems to me that it's time to rethink the business that we're in. And that's what we've been trying to do at the Richland Library. What if we were going to act like a place that wasn't a warehouse for books? What if we were going to act like a place that was about illuminating, about bringing light to a community, about engaging people in learning in new ways? And that's exactly what we've been trying to do here. We knew we would need a new framework to make that happen, that if we were going to move being a place about books to a place about learning, we'd have to think about our service design model differently. And that's when we started looking at the work of companies like Adaptive Path and Forrester Research and the Timken Group. And the Timken Group has written the 6 Laws of Customer Experience. And it's a great primer for any of you interested in this topic. So we started using those to redefine how we were going to work at the library. But if you don't get around to reading those 6 things, these are the only 2 laws you need to remember. Vicki, you'll like the first one. Don't make the customer feel stupid. That seems like a really obvious thing, right? But think about it. Most of you are probably parts of complex organizations. I know that we are, and we use acronyms that even we don't know what they mean anymore. So sometimes we develop all these systems that work for us to help us manage our workflow, and then we turn those systems around and expect them to work for the community as well. That's not how it works. If your customer's working so hard to understand you, you're probably doing it wrong. And as Bruce Timken says, if you hear your frontline staff explaining to the customer how your organization works, you have a problem. Being fair keeps us from being exceptional, and this is a particularly hard rule for us to remember because we invented the Dewey Decimal System, for goodness sakes. We love order and rules. But the customer in front of you does not care what you told the 200 people before them, and they don't care what you'll tell the 200 people after them. They only care what you will do for who? For them, right? No matter how much you love an organization, who do you love more? yourself. That's right. So these were two rules that we tried to start abiding by. We also thought we would need a whole new framework. And so I'm going to show you the highly sophisticated diagram that we have been using for the past couple years to totally redefine our work. Nothing says credible or research-based like a stick figure, so let me just explain this to you in case it's too complicated. The customer experience is easily defined as this. It's every interaction you have with an organization's systems, its people, and its processes. Every interaction. And to every interaction, there's a before, a during, and an after. Think about the last time you got an invitation to a wedding or a party. Do you know what that wedding or party is going to be like by the look of that invitation and how it feels and what it says? Do you start getting excited before you even get there? And then if they give you a nice little Cersei at the end, there's a great after, and hopefully in the middle it's great as well. So that's what I mean by before, during, and after. And we look at it this way. We're trying to help people accomplish something. So no matter who you work for or what you do here, whether you call them customers, students, clients, patients, vendors, visitors, you name it, there's a before, a during, and an after of all the interactions that they're going to have with your organization. In addition to this, we knew we needed to have some unifying promises. And hopefully, if you've worked with the Richland Library, we wanted everybody to feel this way, by the way, this very excited. I think I skipped a slide, so let me go back real quick. We knew that when you're in the middle here and you're trying to accomplish a task, you're going to interact with people, you're going to interact with processes, promotions, and you're going to interact with place. 4 Ps. Now, some of you might create a product, but let me tell you something. If you create a product, 100 other people create it too. If you're in education, a lot of people do that, right? So it's all about how that experience works for that customer. And the people would be how you're met and greeted. The place is the physical design of the space that you're in, but it's also your parking lot and your bathrooms. I'll get back to that one. Your promotions, your calendars, your logo, your tagline, all of those things in the process is how easy is it for people to interact with you. All of that impacts what kind of customer experience people have. So like I showed you, we wanted people to have this level of stick figure jubilation here. So we knew we needed to really unify our entire library system, all 400 staff, and really get them thinking about what kind of experience we're trying to create. So if you've interacted with the Richland Library lately, hopefully one of these words will describe your experience. We want people to feel welcome, like guests. We're kind to them. We want them to feel like our family and friends. We're caring. We care not just about what you're asking, but we care about making you feel smart. We're committed to making our skills sharp so that you get the best from us. We're helpful, and we're fresh and fun. We take risks. We're creative. We like to have fun at work, and we know that innovation doesn't have to be grand or expensive to be meaningful. So let me show you some examples. A lot of people are very kind and they come to me and say, we love what you're doing at the library. Well, guess what? In less than 10 minutes, you got the whole backstory for how we're making it happen. So let me share a couple examples. Your people are the most important part of your organization, and there are some rock star librarians out there today spending the day with you all. And we know that think about your first day at work or the last time you've had to train someone. Think about the first thing you talk to them about. Is it about how to clock in, how to use the financial software, how to use the telephone? Chances are you talk to them about the process first. We have totally tried to get away from that. We celebrate people when they're hired. We send them a letter from me saying, thank goodness you're working for us now. You're one of our team. They get their T-shirt in the mail, and we commit to supporting them for an entire year, coaching and developing them so they don't ever feel like we're throwing them under the bus the first day of work. Library cards. If you have a library card in your hand or wallet or on your keychain, raise your hand. Thank you so much. Thank you for being patient and persistent enough to go through our once complicated process to get one of those bad boys. It used to be harder to get a library card than it was to get your driver's license, but we've really eliminated some of those barriers. We celebrate you when you come in to get your card, and now you even get a choice of what kind of design you want. We've also rethought the way people interact with librarians. So here we have what we call our Book a Librarian program. So if you have a question that is a little more complicated than just doing a Google search, you can call us up, tell us what you're looking for, and we'll pair you with the right person for that question at a time that works for you. You can get an hour of their time. And look at these boys who cannot believe their good fortune that they got paired with Lori. She's up there somewhere, our cute librarian. Aren't they happy about that? But again, think about this. This is rethinking how we utilize our people. It's how we process, and it's also place. Like I said, they're sitting shoulder to shoulder. It's consultational. It's not transactional. It's about all of those things coming together in that customer experience. Is this making sense? You know where you're going to find people who don't use the library? In a bar. I'm just kidding. So Susan Lyon, who is also here today, and we heard her called out earlier, she's fantastic, and she came up with this idea called the E-Ready takeovers. And we would actually partner with bars and go out where people would have their devices and show them how to use the library and how to download, and get them really jazzed get them a card right then and get them really excited about using the library. So your place, how you're interacting with your customers, doesn't even have to be your physical place. It can be somewhere else. And this, again, is just utilizing your talented staff in a very different way, and process. All of those things coming together, and promotions. A lot of the times, the restaurants themselves would promote the events for us. So all coming together, helping the customer accomplish a task. We know that children who go to school not ready to read also end up being some of those kids that don't graduate, that it's really hard for them to catch up. So we've been thinking about the before, the during, and the after of how to engage the families that really need to develop their skills and helping their child get ready for kindergarten. So we started this Here Comes Kindergarten program, where we know before one of the barriers is transportation and time. So how did we circumvent that? Well, the program is in the evening, so parents can pick their children right up from childcare, come straight to the library. They get a healthy meal. They get to eat with their neighbors. And we give them gas cards to help out with the transportation issue just to get there. The other thing about this program is this year we'll be adding a nurse to it, because we care not just about whether the child is ready to read and ready for school, but we care about whether they're healthy and getting their immunizations as well. So I loved showing you this picture because half the people in this room will probably never have need to see this room. It's our Nursing Mothers Lounge. It's one of the things that we do is a lot of programming for children and their families ages birth to 5. 40% of all the programs we do are for that demographic. So we knew that if we were attracting that many children and families with really young kids, we needed to rethink place. How is a daddy going to take his little girl to the family restroom? Where does that mom go when she needs to feed her child? So now in the children's department of the main library, we have a whole family care suite. This is the Nursing Mothers Lounge, really peaceful, wonderful place for people to go. But again, thinking about what is the customer trying to accomplish? How do we want them to feel? This shows we care about them, and how do we use all of those P's in order to make that happen? When our children were young, I would have settled for a hook on the back of the bathroom stall. So bathrooms are a big deal for moms with kids. You got to get it right. But you can really get it right when you start over. And we got the chance to do that in renovating and expanding a library in Eastover. We asked the community what they wanted from their library and what they wanted in their community. And they said they wanted people to feel a pride in their history and a real hope for their future. So in doing that, while the building was under construction, we asked the community to bring in their photos, and we scanned them in and cataloged them and took good care of them. And then we asked them to vote on their favorites. And on opening day, when they walked in, this is what they got to see. We turned their beautiful photographs into art pieces, because the end of a bookshelf can be a touch point. That can be a physical place where you can reinforce those promises. And that's what we did in this building. And there wasn't a dry eye in the house when Miss Brooks walked in and saw this picture of her mother during her first teaching job in 1935 at an all-black school in Lower Richland. So again, our promise is that we care about you. We want to be fresh and fun. We want you to see the library as yours and at a place that is about inspiring learning. And I think we made it work with this particular branch. We also did something for the kids. What better way to make children feel proud of their town than to turn their entire town into a map table? So we basically created a train table with the map of Eastover on it. And you can see these little cards actually slide in and out. And these are the milestone, kind of the the markers in their town, places that they would recognize and become familiar with. And the look on kids' faces when they run in and see this thing is unbelievable. They can't believe it's their town. And they can also take blank ones of those little cards and draw their own future. Whatever buildings they want to build, they can build them and slide them in. And as with some of the other items in the branch, if they want to know more about them, they can take them into listening tubes that are RFID activated, and they can actually hear the story of the thing. So again, how do we get it right in all those people, places, processes, promotions? I think we're doing a great job of it, but it doesn't have to be this grand or expensive, remember? It can be about looking at your atrium differently and saying, hey, let's hang some inexpensive red umbrellas from where the escalators are in the main library and really make people get excited about coming to the library. Or it can be rolling out 10,000 square feet of AstroTurf over a parking lot and turning it into a pop-up park on a Sunday afternoon with the bluegrass band. Just think about the experiences that these children will be talking about when they talk about their library years from now. And speaking of childhood experiences, remember my library? Last fall, a colleague sent me this. I know. Let me just let that sink in for a second. I've chartered a bus, and after you have a few drinks, we're all going to St. Louis. We're going to chain ourselves to the door. That's the plan. That's the plan for the afternoon, in case you were wondering. I know change is inevitable, but what I want you to understand that you can do this. You got to think about the story your organization is telling, the before, the during, the after, all the multiple touch points that customers who come to you that want to accomplish something will come into contact with. And if you don't remember anything else, know what you're promising people. Be authentic and promise people something, because in the end, what they feel about you is all that matters. Thanks.